Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to hear from each of our witnesses today regarding the opportunities that we have to unleash our workforce and get our economy back on track. 2 years into the Biden administration, we're still facing significant problems encouraging American workers to return to work. And in fact, as some of our witnesses have pointed out, there are roughly 10 million open jobs in our country today and only about 5 million people who are looking for employment. We heard earlier from one of our witnesses that our labor force participation rate seems to have reached its highest, seems to be higher than the highest participation rate just prior to the pandemic. And that same idea was presented by Secretary Yellen at a Ways and Means Committee hearing. But this chart shows otherwise. And this chart is labor force participation rate prior to the pandemic. You'll see the high. Top is women and men. And it shows that in both cases, we have not achieved the labor force participation rate that we'd seen prior to the pandemic. And this, by the way, is millions of workers who haven't returned to work. We really need more people entering the workforce rather than leaving. And I do believe there are multiple reasons for this, but one of the reasons is the Democrat policies that are disincentivizing work. In fact, as we heard in Mr. Moore's testimony, if you add up normal unemployment benefits, health insurance benefits, unemployed individuals in the state that I represent, Pennsylvania, would receive a benefit of equal to an earned income of $82,888. Now tell me how that encourages work. You can make a great living just by staying home, apparently. And as I travel around my district, and I've heard from all of you here, workforce shortages are the #1 issue that I hear about from small business owners, followed by inflation and also supply chain issues. During the pandemic, Democrats enacted policies in the bloated American Rescue Plan, which paid workers more to stay home than to return to their jobs. In Pennsylvania, that was about 42%, literally could make more staying at home than returning to their jobs. And I don't fault anyone for making that decision. I've often said it was a deeply unfair position for the federal government to put families in, to tell workers that to stay home is a better way to provide for their families. And I was encouraged by some of the comments from my Democrat colleagues talking about we all understand the need to return people to work. We understand the best way out of poverty is to provide an individual help an individual connect with a great paying job. And there's an inherent dignity in that work, and it provides that first rung in that upward ladder of mobility. The current workforce shortages that we're facing, as I said, are directly tied to Democrats' failed pandemic-era policies that closed our businesses, closed our schools, and shuttered our economy. All of our witnesses have agreed that skills development is a necessary component of our economic recovery. And I believe that we should enact policies that put job creators and businesses in the driver's seat because local businesses know best what kind of workers and qualifications they need to fill those open positions. I want to just mention a bill I recently reintroduced, the USA Workforce Tax Credits Act, which would create a new tax credit for charitable donations to community-based apprenticeship initiatives, career and technical education, and workforce development programs. This legislation is modeled, it's similar to a K-12 EITC program in Pennsylvania that works very, very effectively, creates strong partnerships between local businesses, and in this case, K-12 programs, and leads to direct benefits for our communities. And for far too long at the federal level, we've focused all of our dollars only to those individuals who are attending college. We've encouraged everyone to do that. We need to rebalance that. This would be a way of doing that while utilizing those partnerships between businesses and those who provide those services. Also want to mention, proud to co-sponsor the Pell Act legislation, which would expand Pell Grant eligibility to high-quality, short-term educational credentialing opportunities. I think there's bipartisan support for that. These two pieces of legislation will expand opportunities for Americans to get training so they can start in-demand careers with family-sustaining wages, grow our economic output and our GDP.